Good evening and welcome. This evening it's episode 9, and we're joined by Midlands-based National League and Academy coach Steve Mroso. Good evening, coach. How are you?
How you doing? I'm fine, thank you. Yep.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us. Like I said, it's episode 9, so this is 9 weeks into the show. Hopefully, we're getting a little bit better at this every week. We were just chatting to our producer about making little adjustments. But it's a very kind of informal show. I say every single week, this is not journalism. This is a very kind of conversational kind of magazine type show. What we're hoping is that we can share some experiences, some ideas and thoughts about coaching the game of basketball, and maybe provide a little bit of entertainment as we go. Um, so every week we like to start with kind of our introduction to our guests. So Steve and I, we met about 3-4 years ago. I've had the kind of opportunity and the pleasure to work alongside Steve on a couple of projects. Um, and Steve's been involved in the National League for quite a few years. And before I met you formally, I'd seen you on the circuit, but as is often the case after a game, you don't often get a chance to talk to people, or you definitely don't get a chance to talk to the opposition as much as you might like to. Steve, could you start by telling us a little bit about your basketball journey, how you got into the game, kind of what you've done as a player, and eventually, how did you get into coaching?
Yes, as a junior, from under 12s to under 18s, played National League for Birmingham Bullets. Um, Also represented the regional for West Midlands, 13s, 15s, 17s, and later on in the junior stages, I managed to, and then as a senior. Um, I did go to America for a split, 6 months. I was at Oklahoma University, and then I returned back um, um, uh, sports science degree in mathematics. Hello.
Still there, Steve?
Yep. I was playing for Curtis Xavier in Nottingham, for South Nottingham College, and yeah, he helped me learn the game of basketball via coaching. So got me coaching into the local schools and stuff like that. And my confidence grew. I ended up being a player coach for the city. And then on my return back to Birmingham after my degree, um, I did coach that City of Birmingham Basketball Club. And then I met Nigel Hansen from Birmingham also. And then I coached at Birmingham A's, which is now known as Team Birmingham Elite. And I've ever since.
Excellent, excellent. So, look, not all good players necessarily make good coaches. Coaching, generally speaking, is very kind of multifaceted discipline. It requires lots of skills, technical, tactical knowledge, as well as being able, as well as having a good fair share of interpersonal skills, emotional intelligence. With that all said, tell me what you believe are the characteristics that determine whether or not you can be an effective teacher of the game.
Well, first of all, I believe you've got to be a positive role model with your actions. So I've where, a lot of coaches have the knowledge and stuff, but like, their character, no disrespect, it's not you're telling a kid to act a certain way, but you're not acting a certain way. So my first port of call is like, you've got to act like a professional. What you expect the kids to do, you're supposed to do. I'm never late. You know, it's very rare that I'm late. And if I am late, everyone's gonna know. Well, it's, yeah, my players have a cheer when I'm late because it's not often. So when they are, that I get upset because I'm trying to show the model of how you should be. So that's number one for me. Um, Number two, try not to do too much. With basketball, there's a broad perspective. So, if you're trying to show you can do footwork, shooting, dribbling, ball handling, you're all trying to mix it up too quickly. It's not proper development. And I feel I learned this a lot of Curtis Xavier: repetition, repetition, repetition. You keep doing that, then the players, especially at junior level, their confidence increases, and then they feel confident to move on to the next thing that you're trying to deliver.
Excellent. Well, look, Curtis is a big he's somebody that's had a big influence in my coaching development as well. So a big shout out to Coach X. He was actually on the show with us a few weeks ago, and we're planning to have him on again. So yeah, I absolutely know what He is a real believer in going back to the basics and keeping it simple. And I think you're right. It is very easy to overcomplicate the game and the process of coaching. So we're going to build on that a little bit. I want you to tell me about your coaching philosophy. And when I ask that question, people kind of stop and think, and then they're not sure how much to give and how little to give. But to simplify it, tell me, what does the game of basketball look like when it's played well through your eyes?
Hard work. Everything's done via hard work. You're in training, making game situation drills. If you're not doing it in a game situation, I don't expect you to do it in a game. I'm not actually shocked. I know how you train. So when you're doing it like that in the game, and a negative result happens, I just look at my players. I'm like, well, you got to do this behind closed doors. And if you work harder, it becomes easier in the long run. So, every time we're doing drills, if I see someone not putting the effort in, no matter how big or small the drill is, I will pull you up for it because I know it's going to affect you in the game. So,
Okay, so tell me a bit more. After hard work, what comes next?
you know, um, the willingness for players to learn. So, we all know learning something new, you're not going to pick it up straight away. You got to build confidence in the player to believe that you can always learn something. It's like you gotta create that attitude because as the kids get older, confidence issues come in and stuff. And I use the saying like you've got to act like a baby. How they start development in life: crawling, fall over, walking, fall over, running, fall over. And they keep trying until it becomes a normal habit. And that's what we've got to do with junior basketball in order to develop. So sometimes I am coaching and I'm thinking, have I done enough? Like we've done the same stuff for 8 weeks, and I'm just thinking maybe they're getting bored and stuff. But I'm trying. I don't know if it's a bad thing, but I'm kind of like a perfectionist. Until I see, it's confidently done, it's then I feel comfortable moving on to the next phase of what we're trying to deliver. Very, I'm very passionate on footwork, which my players know, and I actually like, I tell my players we're not traveling more than the other team in this game. We are going to handle pressure. We are going to receive the ball properly. Okay. And we're not going to have unforced turnovers via our footwork. Now, of course, some players do it in the game and stuff, but when we go back to training, we can relate to that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that absolutely does. So That's gonna take us into the next area, like so Team Birmingham Elite. I mean, roughly how many teams does that involve now?
To be honest, we've been a club where we've varied sometimes. So, we have under 14s, under 16s, under 18s. That's usually covered with all the boys. And as you're aware, we've had senior women and senior men. Now, last season, due to the numbers and certain changes, uh, female side of them, we actually on the girls, 18s women, and the senior women back. So we're trying to get the balance on the female side just as much as the boys. And with the boys, our 14s just won the league this year. So hopefully they will go into the Premier. Our 18s won the Premier Central. We was runners up last year, so we're happy about that. And my 16s boys are in the Premier Division as well.
Excellent. Well, look,
Um,
with
and
that many
senior,
teams. Sorry, Steve, to cut you off.
yeah,
With
no
that many
problem.
teams, obviously you've got coaches coming in from different backgrounds, different experiences. As a club, what to what extent do you try and create a sense of Team Birmingham elite style basketball? Like, are you guiding that? Is there a player
Yeah.
pathway where all the coaches are teaching similar things, or do you let everybody do their own thing? How does that work?
No, you're absolutely right. So, with the what you just said in the latter, like we have a philosophy. Like Stephen Hansel is the director of the club. His experience is very vast, and he's built at each age group what they should be doing. But we're all delivering from under 14 level, bringing it all the way to under season see what the 16s are doing. They know there's just a slight progression. There's nothing too similar. So if someone plays up, they're not like just playing up because they're playing against older players. They know what that team's already doing. And same for the 16s going to the 18s and the 18s going into seniors. It's just slightly progressed each age group, but we all deliver, on our defenses and offenses. We follow the same curriculum.
Okay,
Went with,
so
a new coaching. And yeah.
no, go on. You were going to say a new coach.
No, I'm just saying if a new coach comes in, we support them of what we're trying to do, but we appreciate your uniqueness to get him. So it's not robotic. You must do it this way and say it like this. It's like these are the outcomes we want, and we want you to use your uniqueness and your qualities to get these outcomes done.
Excellent,
And
excellent.
that's the best way of doing it.
To what extent, if any, have you? I mean, firstly, have you seen? Actually, I've got a copy here. Have you seen the? Have you seen the player development framework from Basketball England?
Yes,
So,
yes, yes, I
so
have.
to what extent have you adopted some of that, or have you just looked at it and said, well, actually, for the most part, we're doing that anyway, so we're just going to carry on, or have you changed anything?
No, I believe I've read it, and I think it's a great document. I believe not just myself or our club, but I believe majority of the country are trying to do those things. It's just that what I've looked at from a general manager point of view is like what I like about the player development is what they should be achieving at each age group, and it shows us a we are as a club at under 14s. Are our players doing the same stuff in the player development framework? I would say that. And kids that are not doing as progressing as much, it's our job to get them up there.
All good, all good. So, we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the kind of recent kind of issues, discourses that are going on. So, about obviously about 10, 11 weeks ago, the whole country went into lockdown and effectively threw basketball into disarray. We didn't see the outcome for most of us. We didn't see the outcome of our seasons. So, from a coaching standpoint, how has COVID-19 kind of affected you as a coach and your coaching process?
As a coach, it was a bit upsetting towards the end of the season, being cut short and stuff. But like, what I am proud about is that, like we spoke about earlier, we've set a curriculum of how the players should play. We set that ethos. I, I'm not too worried of how we're going to return. It's obviously, yes, the kids have missed it and they're not playing, and their mental health and well-being. We've got to make sure everything's okay. But I'm not worried about the return as such. Hopefully we can all return. But because we've got the curriculum and model sorted of how we deliver our basketball, I think we'll be able to adjust quickly. Um, Regards to coaching as the club, same thing really. It's like we're all confident in what we're doing. It's just, because we're going into next season, it's like, has this, and people coming in. It's just a bit nervous of how people are going to come back into the sport.
Yeah, and look, we've obviously in the last kind of week to 7 days, we've seen Basketball England's return to play kind of document, um, which suggests that I think we're at stage 3 at the moment, which means
Yep,
that we
yep,
can start to look at some kind of outdoor kind of workouts and getting no more than 6 people on a court at the same time. Nothing indoor at the moment, which obviously for our sport presents a few challenges. But if the weather continues to play ball, maybe we can get outside and utilize some of these outdoor courts. I know yesterday I managed we my club managed to find an outdoor court that is barely used really by kind of I would say by basketball players. But yeah, we were able to get a workout in, and there was lots of huffing and puffing, and people kind of surprised at where their ball handling skills had gone in the last 10 weeks. So that's going to
yeah,
be it is going to be a challenge kind of coming back. But I think, like I say, outdoor basketball is something that isn't massively um, taken advantage of in this country. From my opinion, I know there are some outdoor courts that are really well used and well established, but I think it's going to force quite a few people to have to go outdoors and utilize some of those spaces. So that's not entirely a bad thing. And like you, I'm not particularly worried that our players are going to be really far behind because honestly, the first 3 weeks of lockdown, I think my team probably spoke more than we would speak in a normal week. Like getting
yeah,
online, we
yeah,
were doing group workouts. I was feeling the fittest I'd been because it's very difficult. It's quite easy to stand on the side of a court and tell your players what to do, but if you're on a Zoom call, you've actually got to do the work at the same time. So
yeah, yeah,
those first few weeks, I was feeling like I was getting in shape. Unfortunately, the last few weeks, I've had 2 birthdays. That's at least 2 birthday cakes, most of which I've eaten. I'm not going to lie. So, yeah, I've got a bit of lockdown weight to get rid of. I don't know about you. What have you been up to?
yeah. To be honest, our social media platforms, passing on any positive messages from Basketball England to keep them updated. We have discussed about, playing outdoors and stuff, but it's a bit of a grey area we discuss because of the risk assessment and stuff like that. Like you mentioned earlier, you could go to the court and there's other people there, but they're not playing basketball. You don't have the right. It's a public build, public site, so you don't have the right to say you can move. So it's very difficult to organize. We're happy with the update with the return to play because I believe we're eligible to actually train indoors, like you said, with 6 people. But is the venues. Basketball England have got their legislations, but then the venues have got their own. So when I've contacted them, they've said, well, we've got to do our risk assessments. And as soon as we do that, then we'll give you a call. And it can't be just biased towards basketball too. So, it's like we've got to wait. So they let everybody in, really. So we've just got to wait for the update.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a challenging kind of few months ahead, but I'm confident we are going to get there. We are going to get some kind of new normal. Um, so back to current affairs. Last couple of weeks, I've been kind of forced to curb my social media habit, which is not entirely a bad thing. But I found that I can't enjoy my usual kind of scrolling for life hacks and entertainment and a bit of distraction because the because of the kind of really strong political messages that are coming through as a result of the George Floyd kind of murder, which has it seems to have woke a lot of people. There's a lot of people talking about kind of being anti-racist, talking about having the difficult question. Um, and again, we were on a call earlier on today. We were talking pre-show, and one of the things I wanted to make clear is that this is not a political show. We don't, I don't really share my own political kind of point of view because I really want to talk about basketball. But what I do want to do is I want to ask you from a not from a personal point of view. So I'm not asking your politics or your standpoint, but
Yep.
from a coaching point of view, what do you think you can do to be, you talked a little bit before about being a positive role model. What do you think you can do about helping to educate kids about trying to, use your platform as a coach and as a role model to help them understand a little bit about social justice, about kind of good character, about positive behavior, positive actions? Where do you see your role as a coach?
Well, like I think it's the same, similar answer to what I said earlier. Like, you know, an example like just have a positive character and show gives opportunity. It's not just about on the court. There's a lot of off the court attitudes and characteristics that you want to carry over into life. So if you deliver properly as an organization, like which I've done for many years now, it's like a lot of the guys that I've coached from under 14s, now that they've graduated from university, they're on to bigger and better things, and and they're happy that you helped them along the way. Now that goes a long way for me, because you've been a positive role model in their lives. I've had guys that I've coached, I now coach their children. They ask me like, oh, when do you coach the under 10s and stuff like that? And once again, that's another positive thing because you're doing the right thing. What I've got to address is that in Birmingham, it's quite a diverse community. So you can't be too opinionated on your personal feelings. You have to appreciate everybody's feelings, and I know it's a sad situation regards to George Floyd, but from a club standpoint, we can't get involved in any political standpoint because, our members have different opinions, and it's not our job to actually make them fixated on how we feel. And I was speaking to Stephen Hansel, and we're a black-led organization, so it's not something we have to keep talking about because the issues that we've been speaking about for many years. So to us, it doesn't feel like it's anything different. It's just what are we gonna do to make it improve?
Excellent, excellent. Well, look, excuse me. We're going to get back into kind of basketball territory, and I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you something in a different way than I asked you before, but it's a similar kind of question, and it's really about we've talked a lot before about the importance of player development, and you've talked already on this show this evening about what are some of the building blocks. So if you had to create your kind of perfect player, and you could just create some bullet points as to what that would include, what might that look like? So, if I'll give you an example. So, if for me, I want a player that understands games. More than somebody that's a great shooter or a great passer. I want a gamer, somebody that can understand the ins and outs of playing a game, and that game might happen to be basketball at that particular time. Um, I definitely want somebody that's coachable, that's teachable, that's open to new ideas, that's open to learning. So if you were to create a kind of bullet point list of what does a perfect player look like, what attributes do they have, what would you include in that list? Just give me the top five. I say give me the top five like it's such an easy thing to do, but
Yeah. um, coachable. Coachable is definitely one, like if you're not willing to listen or, your bad body language and stuff. I picked that up early and I nip it in the bud. I'm like, this has got to improve, or I don't know if this is gonna work for you at this club. So, you gotta be coachable, or build them to be coachable, should I say. Not everyone that walks through the door is coachable. It's your job to make them become coachable. It's quick to point the finger, but we have a responsibility to make basketball players and improve. So that would be number one for me. Um, hard worker, like we've all been there where one by it's like they're hard to coach in them situations because they're just beating everybody. And then you get to a game where it's a 2 point game and there's 2 minutes to go and stuff, and all of a sudden some players think they can just work harder in the last 2 minutes when you haven't been working hard all game and you expect the reward of the win. So like hard work, and once again that's picked up in training. Um, Technical standpoint, which you mentioned reading the game, I would say footwork, what I mentioned earlier. When you've got good footwork, all the other things can improve. The shooting, the defense, even your passing. Do you get what I mean? So footwork is very important for me. Um, Defense, I think it's a problem as a nation, to be honest. So defense is something we gotta pull, and it's both of them. It's individual and team defense because it involves different types of effort, but defense is definitely one. And one more. I think yeah, shooting is something that we've really got to consider. Like I'll give you an example as a player myself. If for players that knew me, I was a very, very good ball handler. Like, I was very hard to guard, to the point, but I couldn't shoot. People laugh about it till today. Like, I'm talking people would take five steps back off me, but because they know I weren't gonna shoot. You get what I'm saying? So it's a bit crazy. But I feel that pulled me up on it was Curtis Xavier. He was like, if you don't shoot the game, if you don't shoot the ball, your game's going to be limited. So it's all good, your ball handling like that. But once people work it out, then that's it. And he actually made me really think that I've got to improve by shooting. By the time I played a pro in Hungary, I was a 95% free throw shooter, and my mid range game was quite reasonable. I would it's is good, but my mid range and my free throws was a very high percentage, and that's because of repetitions and kind of got pulled up about it if I want to improve. And I think the players need that too.
excellent, excellent. Well, look, that is a tough question because if I ask you that question in another 6 months, some of those things might be the same, and you might have added one or taken one away. They might change in order. So, thanks for giving that a go. That's always a tough one to get people up on the
Thank
fly.
you.
Um, so, thinking about your own kind of coaching journey and your own coaching philosophy, how much would you say that your philosophy about the game or your approach to coaching or your engagement with your athletes, how much has that changed in the last 5 years, if it has at all?
Um, I feel it's been quite static on how I think basketball should be delivered, but I think what I've improved over the years is coach and giving the players a bit more responsibility in how they should approach the, you know, it's in the player development framework, you know, like this player is into the plan ability, like how can I explain? You're always coach led. You know, let the players, you know, show what they need to do in order to get better, and start questioning their own development. You know, I think over the years I've got better at that, and just learning off everybody as well. You came to Spain with me, you know. I learned what you was doing out there, Steve Bucknell, Carl Brown, Gary Smith. You know, plenty of coaches in the EABL and National League. You just pick everybody's brains, and you know what you like, you take. What you don't like, you know, you leave. You know, there's no specific book on how to deliver it, but you know, you take anything positive and try and bring it into your game.
Well, look, I think one of the things that I hope we all kind of continue to do is continue sharing and exchanging ideas. For a long time, I've been coaching for nearly 30 years, and over that period, there have been times where it has felt very much like a closed shop. Like, I've got my ideas and I'm doing this, and I'm maybe coaching regional or coaching national teams, and I'm not going to share what I know because I don't want you to take my stuff. And over the last kind of 10, 15 years, that's been very different. I've met lots of coaches, Curtis, Carl, some of the coaches you just talked about, have been very willing to share their experience, their ideas, um, and not as if not and they're sharing it not because they feel like they're better than me, but they're sharing it just because they can, because they want to
Yep.
give like they've been given to, and they're willing to give back. So I agree. Big shout out to those coaches that you mentioned. But one of the things that has changed, particularly in the last kind of 10, 12 weeks, is the massive increase in people getting online and sharing
Yep.
ideas and asking questions. And that's part of what started this kind of show as well. And I hope that engagement continues afterwards, because as a nation and as a fraternity, we can only improve if we remain open to new ideas, open to different ways of doing things, listening to our colleagues, and realizing that I'm happy to share with you what we do in my club, with my team. Well, I'm not going to speak for my whole club, but I can talk to you about
Yeah.
my philosophy and what I do with my team, because you've still got to beat me, right? I've still got to put that stuff on the floor. I've still got to make
Yeah.
sure that my players understand it, that we can read it, that they can make decisions, that we can execute under pressure. You talked about that before. It's one thing being able to shoot 50% in practice against limited opposition, in these little drills that we create to develop confidence. It's a very different thing to do that under the pressure of game speed, game time, under the lights. You go to some
Yep.
venues. I One of the things I remember about coming to Birmingham a few times is that even if there's only 10 people there, it feels like there's 100 people there. Like they don't let you get out of the building without earning a win.
No,
Do you
we
know what I
try,
mean?
we
So
try.
if the under, I've been to a few games where maybe the under 18 boys or the under 16 boys were supporting the women, and it felt
Yeah.
like a cauldron in there. So at the end of the day, it's not enough for us to. I can share my playbook with you. We've still got to be able to execute it under pressure,
Yep.
and you've still got to be able to beat it, right? You're not going to spend all of your week. Most of us only practice twice a week. We don't have that much time. Like I'm not suggesting I'm going to do this, Steve, but like if I sent you my playbook, how much time have you actually got to spend working out all the plays that we're going to run and seeing how you're going to beat all these different options? I mean, that's not realistic. So, what the point I'm trying to make is we should be more open to sharing, because by doing that we all get better. We all challenge ourselves. We all get an opportunity to look at the game a bit differently, and I look forward to a time where we can actually get back on a floor together, and I can come and look at some of the stuff that you're doing, and you're always welcome. I say this to any coach that I meet. You're more than welcome to come. Unless we're playing you the next week, you're always welcome to come and watch kind of what we're doing and what we've got going on. So yeah, I hope this sense of openness and kind of sharing continues after lockdown.
Yeah, me too. And like I said, if you was to see our 14s, 16s, 18s play, like, sometimes we have games all played at home, you would see that our philosophy is going all throughout the whole club, and like you said, like I could show you my playbook and stuff, our sets and stuff, but so many reads and stuff like that. It's like it's on the day. It's like who's willing to play harder? It's on the day. Not sure if you're aware, but our household is no excuses. So like we the coaches have no excuses. You turn up, expensive games are have been one way where we've won easily. Don't be arrogant. Show some class. If some games are tough, learn how to handle the pressure and don't get frustrated. So it's all these things that we're trying to build in the club. And like I said, the season cut short, but our under 14s and under 18s did win the season before the season cut out. So fantastic results for the juniors. Um, our senior men were very young, most of them just come out the academy age group and mid-table. So, we're just trying to build and build. And, I look at other strong programs like yourself in Solent, Myerscough, Charnwood, forgive me if I haven't said any other clubs, but, we're just trying to aspire to be one of the best clubs in the country. And in order for that to happen, you know, I gotta give a big shout out to Steve Hansel. It's building a good program, and show and expressing our ethos throughout the whole people that come through the door.
Excellent, excellent. Well, look, I know there's, I know at the beginning of the show you said there'd be a few people on tonight from your club listening to the stream this evening. So I want to ask a couple of questions for them on their behalf. So, can you tell me one thing that you wish you'd done differently last season?
Oof, that's a bit of an open one, but you know, to be honest, it was quite a challenge for me this year because last year I did win the conference league, like I explained earlier. Like I had a lot of easy games, very difficult to coach when you're winning by 50 and 60 points and stuff, and not even in a disrespectful way, not pressing all game. Just, the personnel was just better than the other team. Unfortunately, I couldn't go into the league until, hopefully we won the league. So this year I got promoted into the Premier when I coached the under 16s. And you know how it goes. The older players leave the age group, they move up. So you got your under 14s coming in. So your team's totally different, and younger and stuff. And it was just a mad contrast from one season to the other. So yeah, not frustration with them, but the mental toughness. Where this year playing in the Prem, it was more focus on that. Now, I personally probably think maybe at sometimes I was too hard. I had to do a gradual approach because the younger age group coming in. But I just wanted them to understand that we're playing now level. At times, I'd probably say I was a bit tough, too tough at a gradual.
Tough love,
Yep, that's it really in a nutshell.
tough
Tough
love.
love, you
It
know.
comes it comes from a good place, right? It comes from a good place.
Yeah, that's all it can.
Excellent. And then give me one thing that you plan to do differently next year. Something other than being tough on the kids, because I think we that's part of our job sometimes to be tough and to make some of those to give some of that feedback in a way that is going to have an impact on the kids, and that doesn't always have to be kind of shouting and yelling, but it needs to be honest. But give me an example of something else that you want to be able to do differently or better next going into next season.
Um, I would say, like as a whole, their technical aspect of the game. Like yes, basketball is a team sport, but you need five individuals to make a team on the floor. So, really focusing on the individual development. As the general manager of the club, I've already discussed with Steve Hansel our timetable for training and stuff, and we've got hopefully when we all get back, there's a lot more access for player development rather than, you're twice a week and you're just focusing on the game on the weekend. I want to try and come away from that and really like, I want every we all fall into the trap that our last training session of the week is more focusing on the game on the weekend. Yes, I've always still got to have that in context, but player development and both ends of the floor. You know, um, I think it's a good angle to come at this year, just on based on the leagues we won and the vibe we have at the club. Everyone wants to get better. Everyone wants to be on that team that can play as high level as they can. So, now that we got the players thinking like that, it's our job to really make sure everyone that walks through the door improves. Everyone's at different pace, but as long as they improve, I'm a happy man. I do say that to my players anyway. Like, if you have walked out of this door and you haven't benefited from their session, I've lost. It's my job to make you at least think about at least one thing when you leave my training session. And I just want to be more of an impact in that way next season, definitely.
Excellent. Well, look, Coach, I really appreciate you coming on and joining us. Um, I know we spoke earlier on about it's everybody everybody likes sharing and enjoys kind of that opportunity to share their ideas, but sometimes it can be a bit nerve wracking. But I thought tonight was a really interesting conversation. Kind of you were really honest and engaging and shared some real value tonight. So Steve, I look forward to seeing you in person it sometimes in the
Yep.
not too distant future. We can continue
Yep.
sharing. I'll bring a copy of my playbooks just so in the interest of kind of sharing and openness. It might be all blank, but I'll bring it anyway. Um,
Days really, it's more. I like to see what you're doing behind closed
on the
doors. You're
exactly,
yeah, you're tactic.
exactly,
You get what I'm saying? That's the important stuff. You know,
exactly.
and then on the game day, it's up to the players. It's like you prepare them as much as you can. There's nothing you can do on game day apart. It's up to them. And then when it is a close game, your players are looking at, yeah, what do I do? What do I do? But until then, the game day is on the players.
Excellent. Look, really good to see you again. Say hi to the
Yep.
family. Say hi to your beautiful daughters. Who I know you said that.
Thank you.
I said
Same for
I
you
know
as
you said
well.
the oldest is giving you some stress. So stop stressing him out. Stop stressing him out.
Oh, oh, that's gonna happen. I don't think that's gonna happen, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
We've got it all to come. Great to see you. Keep
Yeah.
smiling, and
Yeah.
we'll see you very soon. Everybody else, thank you very much for listening. This is another episode of They Call Me Coach. Hopefully, you got some value out of tonight's show. We've got the next month. We've got a full list of guests coming up. So I'll start releasing those guests kind of prior to the shows for the rest of June and July. And if you've got any ideas about specific topics, like we've had some questions about maybe having some more technical questions on the show, we're happy to do that. It gives us an opportunity to experiment as well with the format. So by all means, please comment, drop us. Obviously, subscribe to the channel, drop us a like, send me a private or direct message, and we'll get onto that. Thanks very much, everyone. Have a great night. Bye.
Right, bye bye.